Let's say you're the
Yeah.
patent attorney. I've come up with an amazing idea. How much you as the attorney are going to now charge me?
Well, initially,
Whoa! Holy smokes, Abby. How many quotes did you actually get?
4 quotes.
And then what made you go with the one in Australia?
The pricing, surprisingly, was cheaper than China and South Korea.
No way.
What I can say is that if you have an idea and you believe it's great, start on it, start working on it, because as you become more involved with your product, you're loving what you're doing, you start to sort of make it just better and better.
What do you think are some of the key lessons that you've learnt through manufacturing that you can share?
First of all,
I'm Matthew Fraser, and this is Amazon Ecom Secrets. I'll be sharing with you the secrets that helped me go from millions in debt to an 8-figure entrepreneur. If you're ready to escape the 9-to-5 and live life on your terms, let me show you the way.
Hey guys, welcome to Amazon Ecom Secrets. My name is Matthew Fraser, and today I have an extraordinary guest. I think this podcast episode is going to be unbelievable, full of so much gold, because normally what happens in podcast world is you hear from people who are already multi-millionaires with amazing products. But today, Abby Izza, who's all the way here from Melbourne, has decided to jump on in because he wants to share part of his journey before, right on the cusp of becoming a multimillionaire. He's created this incredible product, which we'll dive into later. But we want to understand what it has taken to get to this point in his journey where he's just about to make his website live. He was just down at his factory today packing products. So it's very, very new and exciting. So Abby, thank you so much for joining the podcast.
thank you for having me.
Mate, I want to start with just a big thank you for coming on board, because as I said before, a lot of people just don't want to share sort of the beginning story. And when I invited you on here, I said, you know, by the time you're a big success, sort of, you know, a couple of years down the track, 5 years down the track, you'll forget all the things that you've been sort of working on. It really becomes a bit of a distant memory. And I think it's so powerful that you're going to be able to share probably what the last sort of 2 years or 3 years to get to here. So let me open by saying, are you completely crazy going into e-commerce? Are people looking at you going, you're insane?
Yes and no. From me, no. From others, yes, because it's been a very long journey. It's taking me 3 years from when I first started, and I haven't stopped not one day. Mm-hmm. So it has been a crazy journey for me. A lot of stressful moments. You get ups and downs, but determination is what's getting me through this.
Yeah, and so this is not your very first product though. Let's talk about the product just to give it some context so people understand what it is.
Okay, the product I came up with this idea quite a few years ago, where I was getting just frustrated with bags. So it is a bin product, and every time my wife, she's very organised, and I would always have to look for the bag roll, which was always misplaced or being put somewhere. So, and I just got to a point where I just chuck any bag in there, whatever I found. And sometimes, when you pull out the bag, it's got this dripping, or it's the wrong bag size, or something going on with this bag. And so I just said, I love creating products.
Mm-hmm.
I've always had that in me. And I just sat down one day and said, I've got to make this thing, I've got to make a better system for this. And I just, sat down and started drawing and putting things together, and I came up with this idea.
Abby, do you happen to have a product with you?
Yes, I do actually. Yes, I've got it on my shelf. I'll just grab it for you.
Okay.
This is it there.
Wow, okay. So and the bag goes inside of that container.
Yeah. You just open it up, mm-hmm. and the bag roll sits in there, and then you pull the bag through, and it's got feet fasteners that stick here, and then air freshener that gets stuck on this, and it just goes inside in the bottom of your bin, mm-hmm. and off you go.
Okay, and it's about to be available for sale, and hopefully by the time this airs, people can click on the link somewhere in the description and go and buy some of these products. So Abby, this is not your first product, is it? You've done something before this. Do you want to talk about that?
Yeah. When I first got into e-commerce, I did it's called a docking station, and that was my first product that I launched on Amazon. Mm-hmm. And
so what year was this?
This was in 2021.
Okay, your first product in 2021. And was that
Yep.
a flying success?
It was actually, you could sort of say, because as I once I learned how to actually go from sending my product from China to Amazon US, and sales started coming through, so it started to build up, and gradually, I only sent in 100 of them at the time, and I sold them all, and I loved it, and I just loved the way this e-commerce is, and
And so,
I went from there.
so why didn't you then continue with that product?
Okay, that story there is because I was involved in a mastermind, and in our mastermind we had confidentiality agreements that would talk about our product, but wouldn't go outside our mastermind group. And I had that idea, and believe it or not, it was in my file, and it was playing in the back of my mind. And I said, do I show them? No. Do I show them? No. In the end, it took me 6 weeks to introduce it to them. And when I actually showed them on paper what it was, they absolutely loved it, and they said, wow, this is awesome. I haven't seen anything like this. And then one of my mastermind colleagues said to me, why don't you approach a patent attorney? And it went from there. So I actually approached a patent attorney. He loved the idea. He thought it was spectacular and nothing out there like it. And then I stopped my Amazon e-com journey and just focused on this purely from that day.
Right, so the
now.
first product, you would say you sold out of the first 100 units.
Yep.
Is that right? And then you came up
That's
with
right.
this new idea, which is the product that you've just shown us, which is called BinMate.
Yep.
And you decided to park the original product, now that you've sort of learnt the process, you've had products shipped into
Yep.
Amazon, you understand that, and now completely focus on this brand new invention of yours.
Correct.
Is that right?
That's right.
And so
Yep.
how long has it now taken, so from when you came up with this idea to today?
It's taking about 3 years.
Wow, 3 years. And
Yeah.
because a lot of people that come into e-commerce think that it's going to be quick. Like you're going to get up and running within like a couple of months. But of course, when you're designing a product from scratch, it can take longer. Just looking back now, Abby, what would you say to people who are thinking about designing their own product, knowing what you've been through, and perhaps is there any tips you could give them?
Yeah, definitely. What I can say is that if you have an idea and you believe it's great, start on it, start working on it, because this BinMate took me about 5 different designs by the time I came up with this, and just started, taking out all the little mistakes, or it's not going to work, or is that going to work? But yeah, I just stayed determined, did prototypes, samples, and just as you become more involved with your product and you're loving what you're doing, you start to sort of make it just better and better. And just don't stop.
So looking back
Just don't
now,
stop.
Abby, was there any time where you thought, this isn't going to work? I may have to pull the pin on this.
No, because when I did do my sample, I did actually try it, and it worked. And it worked. It did have a few little flaws in it, but that's what I corrected at the time. So yeah, I just got better at just making it better, the product, to a point where now it was pretty much like it just works.
So one of the tips, I guess,
Yep.
Abby, maybe is that when you're doing some samples, maybe take it to market, because I know you went out to some other people. You didn't just sort of create it and then not show people, right? You showed some people that went and tested the samples, and isn't that right?
Correct. Yes, I got I got it actually made through 3D printing for my first couple of samples, because to make a tool these days it costs you a lot of money.
How much money does it cost to make a tool?
Okay.
And what do you mean by tool?
Yep. A die, so a tool die that's actually it's made out of metal, and it gets hardened, and it actually forms your product with plastic. So with my tool, it cost me $180,000 to get this.
$180,000.
Yeah.
Holy smokes, Abby. That's an astonishing amount of money. And this is before you've even sold a single product.
Correct. Yep.
And so when you actually had to pay this $180,000, how were you feeling at the time?
I just didn't think about it.
Really?
Because if I thought about it, it would make me second guess. Am I doing the right thing? Do I go ahead with this? I just didn't think about it but initially I believed in my product so much. That was my determination. And there was nothing that was going to stop me from not creating this product and getting it out there. It is a risk, but prior to that, I did get quite a lot of feedback from coaches that I have, and even
Consumers.
from Adam Hudson,
Yes.
consumers. Adam Hudson, who's the creator of Real Education, and the feedback was phenomenal. Everyone loved the idea. It was a convenience. It served a purpose.
Yeah.
And that was my main thing, because it actually did that, served the purpose, and it was convenient. It just made me more determined to actually get this on, get this out there.
Can I ask you, Abby, you're at this point now where you're about to send $180,000 to a manufacturer to create the tool, okay?
I already have.
No, but you just take your mind back to that point.
Yep.
I'm just trying to just paint a picture, because I can imagine a lot of people who are listening to this are absolutely, their jaw is on the floor right now, thinking you just spent $180,000 on the tool, right? This is not even the samples and of course the packaging and all the other testing and what have you that needs to be done, and not even any product itself, right? Just the tool. So when you had this conversation, and I know you said you got an amazing wife, what was that like, and what was it like? I guess she's obviously given you support to do this, but what was the conversation at that time?
Well, at the time before even all this, when I put it in the bin and I got her to use it, she liked it, she loved it, and I kept it in there purpose just to see, is she going to continue using it or she's not.
This is the sample that you've got now in your kitchen. Okay.
Yeah. And from the moment that was put in the bin, she has absolutely loved it. She actually rang me when I was out seeing a customer, and she said, "Look, I just got to praise you for this idea. I absolutely love it. It's so convenient." She goes, I look forward now to taking out the rubbish."
Okay.
How's that, huh?
That's an endorsement then.
So, yeah, it is. It was a positive, it was absolutely positive, and she has been very, very supportive. That's the number one thing. If it wasn't for her, I don't think I'd go ahead with it, because I also wanted her to be on board with me on this product journey together, because it just made me just fully focus on this product.
And so when you said to her, "Baby, we're going to have to put in $180,000," she said, "Hey, no problem, Abby. Just or what would she say? Are you sure?"
She said, "Where's my car? You're going to buy me?"
So you went, "You can have a new car, or we can get a product tool."
Exactly, yeah. It was all in good humour, I did joke with her a bit at the time, but look, she was really supportive, and she said, "Look, let's do it. That's it."
Okay.
And there was no looking back from her or from me.
That's fantastic, because I often say, having that support network around you is so important. And there's many things in my life where I've had to make decisions as well. And if it wasn't for the support of my wife, I wouldn't have gone down certain paths. And so I just want to, I guess, highlight that, because I think it's really, really important to have that really strong support network, particularly when you're in this entrepreneurial business journey, right? It can be lonely, and you're going to get a lot of people saying that you're no good and what are you doing, and giving you doubt. But anyway, that's really powerful. It's so great to hear. So after this point, you've just spent your $180,000 on the tool. What was after that? Was that all the money you had to spend, or was there something else? More money?
No, there was much more money to be spent.
Tell us about that.
Well, the main thing that first, before even the tooling, was the patents. Now, obviously you want to protect your product from getting copied and from other companies. And so what I did, when I actually approached the patent attorney, we did a patent search, and it came back saying that we can go ahead with it. There's nothing like that out there. And it just went from the process from there. Now, that journey has taken 1.5 years to get it through. And I had to pay extra money to get it prioritised
Right.
get a prioritised examination, so I could get it within that 1 year.
Okay.
The paint, yeah.
And so at this stage, I mean, you're brand new to this. You haven't had patents before, right? And so
No.
you don't know about them. How did you go and find a patent attorney, one that you could trust?
Well, I actually enrolled in this course called Reliable Education, and the guy that created was Adam Hudson, and through that he had all his resources on there, and Eric was actually on there as a patent attorney to go to.
Okay, is he based in
I
Australia?
actually approached him, yeah. No, he's based in the US.
Okay. So you approached him, and you
Yep.
just got a single patent for the US, or how does it work?
Well, I did get a single patent in the US. That's where it first started from there. And along the process, you're paying, it's called a utility patent. So which I did go for, which covers the whole concept of the product itself. And and then there's stages that you go through during the patent itself. So he actually forwards it to the patent attorney office in the US, and if they get rejections, then he tries to correct that rejection. So, but you've got to keep paying more money and more money and more money. So,
Right. When you say more money, because people are dying to know this, how much money are we talking? Let's say you're the
Yep.
patent attorney. I've come up with an amazing idea, and I see a
Yep.
lot of people who come up with amazing ideas, right? But now they want to protect it. They go to a patent attorney. How much are you, as the attorney, going to now charge me for my amazing idea?
well, initially you get told that a utility patent, is about $10,000 US.
$10,000.
Yes.
Okay.
But
And is that a
With my
guaranteed
attorney,
success, Abby? Is that a guaranteed at that stage, or is it it might be rejected still?
no, it can still be rejected.
Okay.
It's basically just up to the attorney himself what he can get through for you and how strong the patent is. So if you've got a great attorney, he can get you a really strong patent covering pretty much the whole thing, or there'll be certain things covered and certain things not covered. So, and that can happen through that whole process. So you need to sort of know what you're covered for, because if somebody else comes along and tries to copy it, they can actually copy it, what's not being protected, and make it similar, and just rectify it in different ways. So you just need to know really what you're being covered for. That's the main thing.
Okay. So fast forward to now, because I know you've got a number of patents. So what does your patent cover now, and how many territories?
Okay. Well, I actually have just applied for covering. I already had a patent in the US covered, and then from there, during your patent journey, the attorney will ask you, do you want to go for a worldwide patent? Now that comes in. If you do go yes, then you're covered for 18 months, a worldwide patent. Then after that, you can either stop it at that and just leave it at one country that you already applied to, or you can he will ask you, do you want to apply for other countries? And which I did. So I went ahead and I covered Europe, I covered China, I covered Australia and New Zealand. So, and I've already covered the United States. That was already done.
Okay.
And they're all the countries that I covered.
And does that mean the $10,000 covers all of those territories, or how much extra are we talking to cover all the worldwide territories?
No. Well, the 10,000 initially when I started with in the United States has actually gone up to about 60,000 plus.
Wow.
Because along the way I've had a couple of rejections, and then because I applied for a PCT, which is the worldwide patent, that cost me about 10,000 Australian. And to get a prioritised examination on that patent, that cost me another $6,000.
Wow.
So it all adds up. So the US is actually alone costing me about 60 plus now, and I've just paid another 23,000 to start the applications in all those other countries.
So we're now talking upwards of what, of $100,000, would you say, in patents?
Probably, yeah.
Wow. It's a
You could
huge
say.
investment. And just a reminder to
Yeah.
people listening,
Yeah.
we still haven't actually sold anything at this point. So
No.
you've put up $100,000 there. You've got another, after this, you've then gone and done, or during this process, $180,000 for the tool. What other, I guess, big costs were there, Abby, that came up in the journey thus far before you've even sold a single product?
Well, creating a website.
Right.
That journey also has cost me close to $10,000 at the moment. Mm-hmm. So there was $10,000 spent on that, and pretty much a lot of trialing, going forward and backwards.
The samples and things.
The samples, yeah, that's cost me, somewhere between $5,000 and $10,000.
Right.
So my journey, when you add it all up, it's cost me close. I reckon at this point of time, I'm probably around about the 450,000 at the moment.
Wow. That is incredible, Abby. Do you think about that and think, oh my God, I'm $400,000 into this? It's almost like there's no return. I'm just saying this because most people would not have the balls of steel that you've got to even get to this point.
Yeah, that's why they say to me that I'm absolutely crazy, and then they just look at me and they go, I can't believe you just actually spent that much money. But to me, it's different. To me, I have a big passion for e-com. I love what I do. I enjoy it, and I've enjoyed the journey of my product. And I really just ignore all the feedback that I get. I don't let that deter me in any way.
You don't mean the feedback, you mean the negativity.
The negativity. Yes, correct. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I just ignore all that, and as long as I got my wife's support, I don't need anything else.
Then you're good. Let's talk about, Abby, where we're up to now, right? So just share with us and the listeners now, because I know you've just come back from the factory, seeing your products packed. What was that like?
To tell you the truth, I almost actually teared up because I've worked so hard for how many years, and to finally see your product being made from your tool that you spent $180,000 on, and then you see operators actually packing your own product. It was just, I couldn't actually describe it. I even told the tool maker, because he was there too. I said, I cannot believe I am actually here today, watching my own product being packed in front of my own eyes.
It's an amazing achievement. And just to remind people too, your product is actually, when we talk about the tooling and that plastic holder that you held up, the bin made itself, is actually manufactured not far from where you live in Melbourne.
Exactly. Yes.
And so how did you find someone like that? I mean, because obviously there's a lot of people thinking, I want to go manufacture my own product, thinking automatically I need to go to China or India or Pakistan, right? So what made you think, I'm going to get it manufactured in Australia?
Well, I did approach those countries too. So I was recommended to go overseas when I first started. And I did get quotes, and I had the Zoom calls with several companies overseas in China and in South Korea over the tooling. Now, the thing is, I never actually rushed my decision on anything. And I sort of had that always, that I'm not going to rush into anything until I'm absolutely 100% sure. I know that feels right. So I did get a quote from South Korea at the time, which was $40,000 US to make the tool. Mm-hmm. But just to make the product in South Korea on its own, that's without even being no packaging or anything, was at the time $4.73 US. Mm-hmm. And if I was to calculate what it comes with, and then getting shipped over to Australia, and the packaging, the boxes and everything, so it was going to blow out to virtually I can't even do much with this product. I can't sell it. I can't even make much profit on it, because it just ate up all the profit when you actually add it all together.
Right, and does that include the shipping of the product too? Because don't forget, you've now got to have it shipped, and you're going to be initially retailing your product in Australia. So now you've got to factor in international shipping.
Exactly.
Right.
Yep. Yep. Yeah, I did factor all that in, and it wasn't viable at the time. I just wasn't convinced with the COG, the cost of the good, with everything in it at the time. So, but I wanted to get more quotes and just shop around a little bit before I decide on anything. And China came back, which was around about I think it was $110,000 for the tool, but the reason being that much that it's that high in China, it's a special tool which actually welds the insert in the actual lid at the same time. So half the tool spins around.
Oh,
so
I
there's
see.
a lot more work to it than just a plain tooling gear. And then I had a friend of mine that I know here that works in the plastic industry, and he's a manager. And I actually rang him up and I said, "Do you know any tool makers here? I wouldn't mind getting a quote and comparing overseas and here." And he said, "Yeah, I do have a person I can actually put you onto," which he did. And I contacted him, and it went from there. We sat down, we spoke exactly what I wanted to do, what product I had, and then he came up with ideas that we can get rid of the costing by making the whole product pretty much automated. So there's no assembling involved.
Right. So a bit of Australian ingenuity actually has proven to be a much better outcome for you. And ironically, it's 10 to 15 minutes from your house.
Yep,
Like
exactly.
the factory, which is incredible, right? When we're all thinking about, we have to go to China and fly over there and meet with different people over there, and it's 10 minutes from your house. Amazing. And so now we're at this point where we're about to launch the product, okay? What are some of the things that you didn't know about before creating this product that you now know? For example, websites and things like this.
I didn't know much about anything, to tell you the truth. Before I jumped on this journey, I hardly knew anything about e-com, what was involved, and even how to go about anything in e-com. I just liked it. I just enjoyed it. But how to do anything, I had no idea. But if I look back from when I started and today, wow, have I learnt so much? Have I learnt so much from everything, from websites, patents, production, tooling, who to go to, who to see, the contacts that I have now. That just makes my whole journey easier now. So now I'm in a much better position that in future, if I did create another product, it wouldn't take me that long and to learn all that process.
Yeah.
But that's the beauty part about your journey, when you're doing e-com, especially when you've got your own product.
Yeah, and we just want to drop in too that you're actually one of my clients now that I mentor and help with this expansion of product. And I guess where I step in is more so to do with, I guess, taking the product to market, which is what I do with other existing products. And funny enough, one of my main products that I take to market, have an exclusive distribution on, is in the healthcare industry. And that product is also plastic-based and is manufactured in Australia on the Gold Coast, of all places, which funny enough, is probably half an hour's drive from my house. And I think what's interesting for people to know about, you just mentioned before, Abby, about, you didn't know much about e-com. I think you did, in the sense that, you'd already you had a test run of those initial 100 units in Amazon, okay? So you knew how the Amazon landscapes works. But when you came to me, we decided that, yes, we could have your product in Amazon, but what was more powerful, we think, is having your own website and generating traffic through social media to your website to create the sales. And I just want to share with people, the reason we did that was because ultimately, different products suit different platforms. And we think, because this is such a unique product, if people go to Google and search, they go with a search intention of, I need a bin bags, trash bags, things like this. And then the idea will be your product will be displayed there through Google on those types of search terms. When someone goes to Amazon, they're going to, with search as well. So we'll have people come up, your listing will come up there as well on Amazon through the similar type of searches. But we want to get to people who aren't going to Google searching for bags as well, which is where social media comes in, where we're going to put in these ads. So as they're scrolling through their Instagram, for example, we want something that pops up that's quite powerful. And so what we're going to do is utilize, and Abby loves this, is we're going to utilize more of the humorous side of things, because as you can appreciate, Abby loves his product to death, but most people don't really care about a bin or a bin accessory, right? They're not passionate about that. But what we want to do is utilize humor to help make the sales of the product. So Abby, talk to us about some of the journey, I guess, within understanding that framework and also social media.
Right. Okay. Now, as you mentioned, at the point of time when I actually approached you, which was through the ecom site at the time, and I was at a moment where I was so unsure of myself. How do I go about moving forward with this product? Even though I had pretty much the website, the tooling and everything else, but just that next level I needed, which you came along and you opened up that wide open for me, which I saw a different world on how I could actually take this product worldwide. And like you were saying, and with the social media that we're actually working on currently, which is Facebook and Instagram and Google, like you mentioned, that's just been so unbelievable. Like the power there, what you can actually do with this product and putting it out there and creating content for this in humorous ways. I
want to share something with the listeners too, Abby, because one thing we talk about is your product. Although you've created Bin Mate, that plastic holder with the bags, and you sell the whole thing, what's so great about your product, and this is gold for people, is you've also created a recurring revenue model. So you've actually created your own bag liner. And so now people come back to your website to buy bags. So I said to you the other day jokingly, you ultimately become the bag guy, right? You'll sell more bags than you actually will of the Bin Mate product itself, which I think kind of flipped the way you were thinking about your business model.
Correct, yeah. I actually, at that time, I didn't even think about that. But now that we look at it, when you mentioned it, it becomes more of a reoccurring sales of bags. So, and all different sizes of bags. And I'm going to be able to introduce more bags of different types.
Yeah.
So, funny thing is, yes, people do buy a Bin Mate, but they buy it once. But the reoccurring sales are going to be the main are going to be the bags.
Yeah, which is astonishing, really, because you've gone in thinking I'm going to create this Bin Mate, and then you're actually going to be making probably more money from the bags themselves, which is fantastic.
Exactly. Yeah.
The other thing we've talked about is how can we grow the business even outside of just bins? And when we think about what else would people who buy bins and bin liners, what else would they want? And we've gone into things like cleaning type products. So we think ultimately Bin Mate will just simply add into its website a range of Bin Mate related products. Yeah. And so can I ask you, Abby, what do you think are some of the key lessons, I think, up until now that you've learnt through manufacturing that you can share?
First of all, never give up. That's one thing. And through the manufacturing process, just make sure that the journey that you take along on creating your own product, that you're 100%, and get more, how can I say, you get more quotes, you approach more companies, so you get a better understanding on how your product will be, or how they're going to make it.
Let me jump in on that, because I think that's an important tip there. So you went and got, how many quotes did you actually get when you went and got your tooling done, for example?
At the time I got four quotes.
Okay, and that was across all different countries, or just in Australia?
No, 2 in Australia and 2 overseas. 1 in China and 1 in South Korea.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then what made you go with the one in Australia? Was it the price point? Was it the delivery time?
It was pretty much a lot of things that I sat down and I wrote down the advantages and disadvantages, what I'm going to have with South Korea, China, and the manufacturers here. Now, the hardest thing is that where I sort of made me think more Australia was that it's locally. I could just drive down if there was any mistakes in the production. And the pricing, surprisingly, was cheaper than China and South Korea.
No
Getting
way.
this whole thing sound. Yeah,
Cheaper in Australia.
It's true.
That's because
Yeah,
most people think
yeah.
that, you can't get things manufactured in Australia because it's going to be, the price is going to, I guess, just be so high that you can't make profit.
No, that's not true, because that's what I thought at the start. I thought, everyone just goes overseas. But just look into your backyard and believe me, you will find great manufacturers that will look after you. And surprisingly, you will get pretty competitive pricing from them compared to overseas.
Let me ask you, I want to just bring this out, Abby, because I think it was really key. And I have spoken about this on previous podcasts, but it was this bit of advice that I gave you on something. But I want you to share the story, which is about the website guy and how he tried to do a deal to basically take your business.
Okay.
Do you remember that?
Yes, I do. That part there, when I was working with the website guy here locally, and at the time, he also was surprised about the product, and he loved the product, and he was really helping me a lot. And I'm thinking that he's helping me a lot, which he was. But in the end, it sort of he came about and he just upfronted me and said to me, "Look, instead of me charging you for your website, I wouldn't mind taking 10% out of your whole company, out of BinMate." Now, I just put it in a nice way. Okay, look, thank you for that, and I'll think about it. So I went away, but I had in my mind already that I wasn't going to take any partners on, and got back to him and say, look, in a kind and nice way, that, look, sorry, I'm not taking on any partners at this point of time. This journey, I'm going to take it on my own, and I'll see where it leads me. Yeah.
I want to just drop something in there, because I remember the conversation we had, and you were thinking about it. You know what I mean? You were like, "Oh, Matt, should I take this?" I know deep down you kind of didn't want to take partners, but there was something that I think you thought, if I don't have to pay this guy now to build the website, all I have to give him is 10% in the future. Right. And once we worked out the numbers, because if we think this business is going to where we think it's going, and if we just use an example of the business gets to I'm going to use $100 million across the world, right? It's the value of the business. And you now need to give this guy, would we say 5%?
10%.
10%. So if we're talking $10 million at some point, you may have to then pay him out. When initially he's only costing how much? Like $1,500 or something, or $5,000, right?
Yeah, at the time it was $5,500 at the time. Yeah.
Yeah. So my point to people listening is that sometimes it might sound good by saying, "Oh, we'll just give him 10% of the company," but if you actually go and think about how much your company is going to be worth, you might find that it's better to pay the guy the $5,000 today and not have to then end up paying this guy $10 million potentially, or even $1 million, Abby, into the future. And that's, I think, a key lesson there, is probably just pay for things that you don't need to. Now, it may be different if you had an actual investor, right? Because he wasn't going to really essentially put in money. So the different situation might be you needed some money, let's say hypothetically, to do the tooling, right? And you worked out a deal and said, look, Jimmy, he's going to put in the money for the tooling because perhaps you didn't have that money. And then you could say, and the upside for you is I'll give you 5%, 10% in the future of a future sale or something, right? That's probably a case where you would do that. I also want you to just share another story that we've had over the past few months. and that is your brother. And this always rings in my head, Abby, where he said, why don't we just roll it out? So to give people the context, what we're doing is we're rolling out in Australia first because the product is manufactured in Australia. It makes sense, of course, to simply start the sales in Australia. Now, what did your brother then say?
Yeah, well, my brother said, why don't you just sell worldwide straight away? And I said, yeah, I don't think that's the easier said than done. And he said, no, it'd be easy. He goes, just get the sales and just fill up the orders. I said, yeah, but what happens if I get how many orders, worldwide? And then that's when you said to me, well, let's work out the numbers. And we said that if we got 0.5% from the United States, Europe, only from those countries there. Now that would, I think the numbers were something ridiculous. I think it was at the time. I had to come up with just for the production cost. I had to come up with $32 million.
It was a lot of money, and so the point is that you're going to have people in your life that are perhaps not experienced at doing things, who don't understand the process. And although we appreciate some feedback, you have to be, I guess, wise in who you take the feedback from. Is it from someone like your family member who has never rolled out products before, or from someone who has? And once we did the numbers and we said, okay, look, let's just hypothetically say we're going to sell this across the world straight away. Yeah, which means we now have to make more production to ship it across the world. So we're now talking a lot of expense. And I think we worked it out, like you said, it was millions and millions and millions of dollars of upfront cost to get the product sent overseas in warehouses to then start making sales. And so it completely became unviable. And I guess for people listening, thinking about, which country should they start in Abby's case, it makes sense to start in Australia because the product is manufactured in Australia. And what we're doing is we're going to actually test it in Australia through the ads, the website, make sure the conversions come through. And I guess what I say, we iron out any wrinkles because there's going to be a full process of acquiring the customer. The customer comes to the website, they buy the product, it then gets shipped to them. Something happens, there's a customer service now involved. So we want to get all that just dialed in and humming nicely before we then think about rolling it out to any other territories. Because once we've got it all humming away, we can then just rinse and repeat. Abby, I'll just ask you this question too, because one of the options for us is to do a different type of business model. Did you want to share what I'm talking about with the licensing?
With the license, with the royalties, yes.
Yeah, share that with us.
Yeah, we did discuss that also, that that's an option for me down the track if I wanted to license it overseas. So I could initially get a manufacturer in the US, let's say, where I can license it to them and I just get royalties from them. So it could be maybe 1 or 2%. And I just get a paycheck from them and I don't have to do anything. And they pretty much do all the production, the selling, the advertising, and I just I just get a paycheck from them, and I can also do that in Europe too. So I could pretty much expand it anywhere and just license it to all these manufacturers overseas, and just collect royalties from them all, and I wouldn't have to do all that work and all that process that's involved in it.
Yeah, and so that's something that we discussed at some point during this past few months, is that you initially thought I have to sell this across the world myself, right? Where you didn't realize the other option, or one of other options, is to license it because you own the IP, the intellectual property. Correct. Being the patents and things like this. And of course, so rather than having more manufactured in Australia and shipping them out yourself, which now comes at an inventory cost to you and shipping cost, and then, of course, you've got the other costs of potentially more websites and then further ad spend. You can actually license the product to somebody else in a different territory who would essentially just run everything. They would perhaps organise the manufacturing in their own territories to then save on international shipping. They would then organise their own website and distribution and customer service team. And then you could one of the options is to perhaps sell them at an upfront license fee. For example, it might be $25,000 or $50,000 upfront so that they have exclusive rights to your product. And then through the sales, you receive a royalty. And of course, there's many different ways to skin that cat, and it's all based on the negotiation with someone in that territory. And of course, we haven't even gone down the track of putting it into physical stores, Bunnings, Costco's, things like that. But I think one of the things we've decided at this point is to actually not go down that route initially because of the extra costs that may be involved. Because for people listening, when you go down the route of retail, it's not direct sales. So right now, if Abby sells a product on his website, he gets paid immediately for that product. If you're having to ship it into, let's say, Bunnings, you might have to come up with 10,000 units, let's say, for a quarter. But Bunnings is not going to pay you immediately for those goods. So you're going to have to shell out the money for the inventory at a large bulk amount. And then it could be most likely somewhere between 60, 90 days, even plus, before you get any money back. So that might be something that Abby and BinMate do down the future when there's more cash flow and cash reserves in the business, but not something we're going to look at initially until we get things up and running. So Abby, tell us about, I guess this is probably up in closing of this incredible conversation, deep dive into your business and this amazing BinMate product that's going to revolutionize kitchens. And it's not just kitchens, is it? Where else? If people are actually interested in this product, Abby, where would it be suited for? Like, who would it be suited for?
Pretty much where there's a bin, you use a BinMate. So it could be in the office, it could be hotels, hospitals, even in your baby room. So with all the nappies, it could just be put into that bin. So it's pretty much in any bin.
Excellent.
In any bin, even in shopping centres.
So there's the catchphrase: if you have a bin, you need a BinMate.
Exactly.
Something like that. I'm not saying I'm the best at creating slogans or anything, but there you go. And so what I'm going to do for the people listening is I'm going to include the link to your website if they want to support a local entrepreneur to get a head start and make some sales. And if you do buy one of these products, we'd absolutely love if you left a review. Hopefully it'll be available on Amazon as well, but also through the website. Leave us a review on there. We hope you absolutely love Abby's product. Abby, anything further you want to say?
No, I just want to thank you, for the interview, and thank you to everyone that will support me through my journey with BinMate and purchasing one and leaving reviews. Yeah, I just really thank everything that my whole journey has pretty much.
Abby,
and everyone that's been involved in it.
Yeah, excellent. Thank you so much, Abby. One last thing: will you promise that you'll come back in 6 to 12 months, once it's humming away, you're making all these sales, promise that you'll come back and see us even if you're driving a Lamborghini?
Definitely. I'm not sure if I could fit in one, but definitely I will come back. And I would love to share my journey, and I would really love to help everyone out there that is on that same journey or is thinking about it. That I would be more than happy, in any way that I could help them. And I don't want them to be afraid of what they're trying to do.
Excellent.
Yeah.
That's so good, Abby. And I just want to say too, if anyone else is out there is in Abby's stage, you're an inventor or you're a brand owner, if you have a product and you want to take it global, feel free to reach out to me, and perhaps we can also work together to help get your product globally into the market. So Abby, I want to wish you all the best. I know we're going to be working hand in hand to make this happen, and I look forward to seeing you into the future. And I really appreciate you exposing and opening yourself up and sharing this incredible Australian journey of entrepreneurship. All right. Thanks so much, Abby. Take care.
Thank you very much.
All right. Bye for now.
Bye-bye.
Thanks for tuning into Amazon Ecom Secrets. If you enjoyed this episode, the best way to show your support is to give a 5-star review on Apple Podcast and Spotify, and make sure to subscribe on YouTube so you don't miss an episode. You can also find more at I'm Matthew Fraser on all social media platforms. Thanks so much. Take care.